Welcome to episode 8 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you, building some momentum in the new season, coming off a great week all round as we give you our picks and our plays from Europe's top domestic leagues across the footballing world. I'm feeling good heading into this week, and I look at the slate. Big games across the board in England, in Italy, in Spain this weekend, even in France. We can touch on the big game between Marseille and PSG as well. Let the good times roll. Profitable weeks for both of us last week, Jake.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't really complain because I think I nailed all my Premier League picks, which was nice, including Brentford to score first, which was a nice big price winner at plus 178. The only disappointment for me was Atletico Madrid. They ended up winning the game 3-1, but they conceded the first goal. I bet them to win 2-0, so that was down pretty quickly. But yeah, hopefully continue, pick up where we left off because it was a very good week for us.
The big one for me was Man City to win and both teams to score against Wolves. Come on, John Stones. I've never been a bigger fan of him. I feel like Pep Guardiola right now, like he's my stepson at plus 175. I had Atleti to win, covering the handicap. Juve to beat Lazio. Inter to beat Roma. I had both teams to score Osasuna, Betis. That was done and dusted pretty quickly. So it was a great week all around. And I feel like now we're getting a little bit more of a grasp on what some of these teams are all about. Always difficult to precisely know when a new season turns around. But here we are, the 8th week of this podcast, and we look to keep things up. Let's start in the Premier League this weekend. And it seems like every weekend there is a big game, because there's so many big dogs or so-called contenders for the Premier League this season. This weekend, it's Arsenal and Liverpool from the Emirates. Cannot wait for this one. Arsenal playing in the Champions League this week, another 1-0 victory, but Calafiore could have gone down through injury or did leave the game against Shakhtar Donetsk, adding to a number of injury issues. We're not sure if Saka will be back this weekend. We're not sure if Timber will be back this weekend. Saliba is injured for this one as well. Taking on a Liverpool side that just quietly is going about their business. Last weekend, another professional 2-1 victory over Chelsea, and are very much the informed side and are top of the table right now in the Premier League. And oh, by the way, Arsenal coming off that 2-0 defeat, going down to 10 men against Bournemouth last week. Another game that we nailed. We both like the under in that game. I just wonder if this one may scream to the under a little bit as well. It's interesting, this one, because Arsenal have the best home expected goals in the Premier League, 13.35 through 4 games. They've only conceded 3 goals, but their home games they played against Wolves, Brighton, where they went down to man, Leicester City, and Southampton. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. Liverpool, the lowest expected goals against overall, and the best away form on the season. 4 wins from 4 away, 8 goals scored and 1 conceded. But their away games, Ipswich Town, Manchester United, Wolves, and Crystal Palace. So which one of those records, sings more clear to you, or is a more clear reflection of the way that the team will go? Is it Arsenal or is it Liverpool? Because at this point, they haven't really played that stiff competition, whether it be Arsenal at home or Liverpool away.
Yeah, it's a very tough game to call for me in terms of the normal 1x2, the moneyline market. I mean, if you just look at the prices, you'd say Arsenal are about plus 146, but as you mentioned, they're missing so many key players. Saliba, huge, and obviously Ødegaard, it doesn't seem like he's going to be back ready either. So yeah, I can understand why Arsenal are the price that they currently are. It's a strange one because we're so early in the season, but we are getting close to kind of not must win, but must not lose territory for Arsenal, especially because it's a 6 point to Liverpool currently 4 points clear of Arsenal. A win obviously puts them 7 clear. And it all of a sudden becomes a big task. So I think that we're going to see a very pragmatic approach, something similar to what we see from Arsenal whenever they play a big side. So yeah, as you mentioned at the top there, I think probably the way in, and it's the backable price. You're getting plus 103 for under 2.5 goals, and as you mentioned, Liverpool the best defense, easier schedule, no doubt, but they've definitely approached it with much more control than they would have under Jurgen Klopp. Would have been probably end to end, probably more attacking XG generated, but also more defensive XG conceded. So their matches averaging just 2.3 goals per game. 4 of their 8 matches have gone under 2.5. And Arsenal have just been kind of not quite the unders kings, but not far off it. 5 of their 8 have gone unders so far this season. And if you include the Champions League as well, that becomes 8 of 11. So, yeah, the killer one for me was that since the start of last season, 6 of Arsenal's 8 matches against the top 4 sides have gone under 2.5. So that's games against Man City, Liverpool and Aston Villa. Obviously, so far this season, they've been to Villa. That was a 2-0 game. They had a 2-2 with City, but there was a red card and just some weirdness going on in the sense of Calafiori in an absolute banger, which kind of saw that go away. But overall, those last 8 matches against the top 4 teams, games have just averaged 2 goals. So I think, again, we're looking at the unders and the way in which Liverpool play. They'll know if they go to Anfield, get a draw, that's a great result for their aspirations. So I would not be at all surprised if this was a 0-0. I'm not going to back that, but I don't think it is out the equation whatsoever. So I'm going to back under 2.5 plus 103. I think that's where the line should be. I think it's probably a little bit of juice at plus number, though.
I am looking at this game very much in the same way as you. My only apprehension is who's playing center back alongside Gabriel this weekend for Arsenal. Is it Kivior coming back into the team? If so, I think that's a drop in quality. Is Timber fit? I don't know what that looks like. Regardless, I'm with you. I think that Arsenal is in must-not-lose territory, especially playing against another potential title contender here. So I lean to the under, but I have 2 different plays, and both of them have shifted out since last night when I first looked at this. I have no problem making a Liverpool draw no bet play here because you mentioned it, it's the injuries right now, and they're starting to add up. And Arsenal didn't have to deal with this last season at all. Liverpool, they're big dogs. All their best players are fit. They're healthy. There's, especially from a defensive perspective, they look just much more of an accomplished, much better defensive side than they did under Jurgen Klopp, under Arne Slot. That's my big takeaway from them. And I think that away fixtures like this are going to be well prepared to deal with a side potentially without Saka and definitely without Odegaard this weekend. So I like Liverpool draw no bet at plus 115. It's shifted out from plus 119. And I'm going to make another full unit play here because the number's too good for me to turn down. It's Liverpool win to 0. When I looked at it last night, it was at plus 504. Now it's at plus 485 on Pinnacle as well. So because I think it could be one of those low scoring games where it could end up being a 1-0 Liverpool, just eke it out away from home. That's my read on the scenario as well. I agree with the under, but I think at plus 485 with that added juice, it's worthwhile to make that kind of play on Liverpool as well.
Yeah, I don't mind the pro-Liverpool angle because, as you said, that they are missing such key players. The win to 0, I'd be shocked if Arsenal didn't score because if they're losing, the kitchen sink's going to have to come out at some point. Whether that actually works or not too sure. But like you said, Liverpool have had a very easy schedule. This is undoubtedly the toughest match they're going to face all season, even without Odegaard, without Saliba. So it is going to be an interesting test. I'm keen to see because I'm not quite there yet with Liverpool being title contenders just because they've not been tested. So it'd be really interesting to see how they go. And obviously, if they go to the Emirates and lose with Arsenal missing 2 of their key pieces, then obviously you can take a very, very different look at Liverpool and their aspirations this season. So, it's fascinating from that standpoint. But as long as we get under 2.5 goals, that don't matter about the result.
I'm getting greedy here. I told you I was feeling good heading into this week. And I like the fixture list as well. Let's stay in the Premier League. What else has caught your eye? Reminder, BetSmart, Bet Pinnacle, all the numbers and markets that we're using are available on Pinnacle. Where else? What other matches are pulling you in their direction?
So there's a couple. My favourite play is probably Brentford to win and both teams to score at home to Ipswich. Yep. It's at plus 241, which is quite a big number. Brentford were pretty good against Man United in the first half. The second half was a very strange performance. I think credit to Ten Hag last week for making a few subtle changes at half-time to get United on the front foot and deservedly win that game. But so far this season, I mean, their only defeats have come against Liverpool, Man City, Spurs and Man United, and they've all been away from home. So I think Brentford are going to continue to do good stuff at home. They've beaten all teams currently down there at the moment: Wolves, Southampton, Crystal Palace. All of those three teams have scored, though, in defeat. I think Ipswich is getting to, well, not quite, it's not desperation mode yet, but no wins yet. What are we, 8 games in? It's getting close to them needing a result of some kind to really stamp their authority and let everyone know that they are here and they're not just going to be another whipping boy at the bottom end of the league that's come up from the Championship. They've scored in 5 of 8 league games, scored in 3 of 4 away. They've actually been creating a decent amount of chances away from home, over 1 expected goal per game, and I think they'll get a couple of opportunities here. So Bees win and both teams to score, plus 241.
It's my second favorite match of the week. Well, coming off the feature game in Arsenal-Liverpool as well. It's the one that immediately caught my eye, and I have 2 plays here. A little bit different. I like both teams to score, yes, and over 2.5 at plus 108. I'm getting a little bit less juice by backing the total rather than picking a side here. I'm just wondering if this is a game where Ipswich Town, really kind of lays it on and throws caution to the wind against a team that, you're right, does concede goals. Brentford, no clean sheet in 7. They've gone over 2.5 in 6 of 7. Both teams to score in 7 of 7. Both teams to score has played in every game but one, and that was a 2-0 loss at Anfield. Their 4th in expected goals at home are Brentford. 11 home goals is joint most alongside City and Spurs. They've given up 6 goals at home in 4. And in every home fixture thus far. And again, they haven't played teams that are great from an attacking perspective at home. Palace, Southampton, West Ham, Wolves. So why couldn't Ipswich Town go there and make sure that they can score at least a goal in this game? Ipswich Town, both teams to score, has played in 6 of 8 as well. They haven't won a game away from home, 2 draws, 2 losses. They're 12.13 expected goals against, second worst in the Premier League as well. But they have scored in 3 of their 4 away matches, including at Manchester City. So let's go get a goal against Brentford here, and let's go over the total of 2.5, combine that there. I'm also going to play the Jake Osgathorpe play from last week, and you nailed it. You did well. Brentford to win the first half at plus 125. Let's continue to roll with this and see how long, see how far it takes us. They have been the first half winner in 4 of their last 5 games. Ipswich has lost the first half in 4 of their last 5 games. So at plus 125, a quick starter. They're the better team. They're playing at home. I think you're getting good juice there, Jake, at plus 125 to back Brentford to win the first half in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm right in saying that Brentford have actually scored the first goal in all of their Premier League matches so far this season. So if they continue doing that, most of those goals have come in the first half, then that bet is going to go very well. I wouldn't be at all surprised. It was a strange one last week because obviously the talk around Brentford and the fast starts have been from the centre kick, and Man United actually took they kicked off, didn't they, in the first half, which meant that Brentford didn't have the opportunity to do that and score so early. So what happens this week? If I don't know if that kind of information is readily available for people who are punting, but if you know Brentford win the coin toss and maybe have a quick bet on them to score in the first 10 minutes, something like that. Because
Johnny Evans was, if he was a step slower, then Brentford would have been in, I believe, in the 3rd minute anyway. So they find ways to push on and try to catch teams out in the early stages of games. They left it late in the first half last time around. A set piece, Delict was off the field, still counts, still led it in half. So it was still a winner from their perspective there. All right, there's other intriguing games this weekend. I'm wondering what else is making your board.
Yeah, the one that I was quite keen to back was Aston Villa to beat Bournemouth, which is at minus 108. And I couldn't believe the price, really. A couple of weeks ago, Bournemouth went to Liverpool. Liverpool were minus 400 at home to Bournemouth, which meant that they had an implied probability of 80% winning the match. Now we've got Aston Villa, who I don't think they're too far behind Liverpool. not as much as what this price would suggest. And Villa, they've been given a 52% chance of winning according to these odds, and I don't think the disparity between those two percentages is really fair. I think Villa should be closer to 65% chance of winning. I know Bournemouth have been good. Their underlying data has been good. They've struggled with results away from home. I think that their underlying data in a couple of those matches is a little bit favourable towards the Cherries based on game state. Against Leicester, they went 1-0 down, chasing the game. You're going to create more chances than the opponents, for example. But yeah, they've really struggled on the travels. And the one win that they picked up, they were 2-0 down against Everton. And Everton decided to take off a couple of the better players and just capitulate, really. So they're fortunate to even have a win on the board when travelling. And you're talking about a Villa team who are sensational at home. 3 wins in the last 5 home games in all competitions, 3 straight clean sheets, including against Bayern Munich. And the underlying data has been really, really positive. 1.85 expected goals for, 0.8 against, and that includes matches against Arsenal and Manchester United. So, yeah, I was just more surprised about the price, really. I expected it to be closer to maybe like a minus 140, minus 150, something like that, because, Liverpool and Villa, in my mind, aren't miles apart. Villa perhaps shouldn't be included in a title race conversation. Not yet, anyway. They probably have to win a couple more games heading towards Christmas. But they are looking like another very, very solid top 4 team yet again. If anything, they look better than last year because they've got a bit more depth. So, I think the gulf in price between Liverpool and Villa to beat Bournemouth at home, I think it just makes this an automatic value bet. And yeah, I am obviously scared of Bournemouth. I do like Bournemouth, but Unai Emery had no problems with Iraola last season. I think it was 2-2 with the Vitality, and they beat them 3-1 here. So, I think it's going to be an intriguing game, but it's the kind of game Emery likes as well, where teams play very aggressive front foot, press high, and he just finds subtle ways to pick you apart. So, yeah, a lot I like about Villa this weekend.
I agree on Villa. At some point, we're going to have to discuss them about being a legitimate contender in the title race. Rodgers, Duran, Maatsen. I mean, these are all very young players who are performing to start the season and have made this team better this season. I'm going to stay away from that one. I like getting involved in some Friday night football here. This is the line that surprises me. I know they're playing Monday, Friday, but Nottingham Forest playing at plus 157 caught my eye. I'm happy to scale that back and play a draw no bet at minus 119, backing the away side at Leicester City. Forest to be excellent away from home, 2 wins, 2 draws, only 5 goals scored, but only 3 conceded. And their expected points is 7th best away from home. They beat Liverpool 1-0 away already this season. Tough draws, too, at Brighton and Chelsea, and they've had a man sent off in both. They have the 5th best overall expected goals against. They've been very good defensively, and 6 goals conceded is the second fewest. Now they go to Leicester City, who are last in expected points at home. They have picked up a win in 2 draws, but the way that they played, they've been a little bit fortunate in those games. And their 20.68 expected goals against overall is the worst in the Premier League. So the underlying data backs Forest in this one. There's no reason to get off this train right now. They can play low-scoring, tight games. That's why if you want to proceed with a little bit more caution, Forest on the draw no bet at minus 119, you're giving up a little bit of juice, but I'm fine with making that play. And for me, it might be worthwhile to just safeguard that way the fact that if you want to mitigate that Monday, Friday situation that they're dealing with this week. So I like that game. That's the only other game that's officially making my board. I was intrigued with Brighton Wolves. I'm intrigued with Chelsea Newcastle. I'm intrigued with West Ham Manchester United. I just can't quite get there based upon where the numbers sit right now. Anything else for you, Jake?
No, I like the Forest shout. They were a team at the back end of last year. I know the results didn't come, but they survived comfortably. But the underlying data had them as like the 6th best team after Nuno took over. So there were clear and obvious signs there that they were going to be just fine this year. And if anything, maybe pushing for the top half. So nice to see them getting the results. I was very close to making a play on Chelsea because I think they're a very backable price at home to Newcastle. The only nagging doubt is Newcastle, I feel, are going to explode at some point. I feel like they're quite close. I know the performances don't show it just yet, but I feel like Chelsea could be a good opponent for them to play a little bit more cautiously and play on the counter attack with the speed. Because Reece James was thrown in last week at Anfield, did okay, but looked really slow. He looked like he was running backwards at times. And I think Anthony Gordon is going to have a field day against Reece James and could be a real issue for Chelsea. That's my only nagging doubt. But I do think that Chelsea at this moment in time are looking like a very, very strong top four contender that Newcastle aren't. And I'm surprised that Newcastle aren't looking as solid as I expected them to. That was the only play I came close to making. But as I've said before, Chelsea, I just can't put my finger on them week to week. I find them very difficult to prognosticate. So left that one alone and moved into Europe.
I don't think Newcastle were poor last week, but having a play in hand where I needed Newcastle goals, it was tough to watch in that one. Losing at home to Brighton 1-0, had plenty of chances in that match as well. So that's it from a Premier League perspective. Let's shift our attention to El Clasico. It's Real Madrid and Barcelona this weekend. Can't wait for this one, because both sides are absolutely on wonderful form to start the season. Real Madrid, 7 wins, 3 draws to start the year. Barcelona leading La Liga, 9 wins. They've just dropped the 1 match so far. They do play Bayern Munich on Wednesday, and that game's being played after we record this podcast. Real Madrid beat Dortmund, came from behind to beat them 5-2 on Tuesday as well. Madrid, 3 wins in a row. Both teams to score has played in 6 of 8. They are perfect 5 wins from 5 in La Liga at home. 14 goals scored, just 3 conceded. And they've won both of their Champions League games played at home, against Dortmund, against Stuttgart as well. As for Barcelona, they've also won 3 in a row heading into that Wednesday tie, a massive one against Bayern Munich. They've gone over 2.5 in 8 of 9. Like, they are just scoring goals for fun. They've been the first to score in 5 of 6 and the first half winner in 5 of 6. Their only away loss in La Liga came to Osasuna. They also lost to Monaco away, but they had a player sent off in that game. In the Champions League, away from home, 18 goals scored and just 8 conceded. They have an expected goals away from home in La Liga of 15.04. The next highest expected goals away is 8.2. Now, they have played that 1 extra away match. They're loading up on these away games early in the season. Still, those numbers simply jump off the page. Head-to-head, Real Madrid, no clean sheet against Barcelona in 5. Barcelona, no clean sheet in 4. They've gone over 2.5 in their last 7 meetings. Both teams to score has played in 4 of 5. Barcelona has been first to score in 4 of 5. It was 3-2 for Real Madrid in this fixture last season, and Real Madrid won both in La Liga and in the Copa del Rey when they faced Barcelona last season as well. Okay, how are you looking at this game? Because Barcelona's been depleted, but their game model has been phenomenal. But it seems like they're going up against another juggernaut in their own right against Real Madrid. Cannot wait for this game on Saturday.
No, it's going to be a cracker, this one. And it's a difficult game to kind of pick a winner, I would say, just because we've not really seen either team tested yet against what you could say is a good team. This is definitely going to be Real Madrid's toughest game of the season so far, given their Champions League schedule. But I'm willing to roll the dice with Barca on the handicap. They're getting half a goal head start. Minus 113 is the price. As you mentioned, the underlying data paints a ridiculously good picture. They've been by far the best team in the Liga so far this season. They're averaging, I think it's 1.53 expected goal difference per game. Real Madrid a third, so 0.9. So they're generating around 0.6 more expected goal difference per game than Real Madrid. And I know you said about Real Madrid winning 5 of 5 home games, but they've had a very kind schedule. And the last home match they played in the Liga was a 2-0 win over Villarreal. They lost the XG battle 1.46 to 4.46 in that game, which is not the best performance that you're going to see from a Real Madrid team. But at the same time, there are a couple of very strange quirks and caveats, because as you mentioned, Madrid played Tuesday at home against Dortmund. Barca have got a much tougher test against Bayern on the Wednesday. And also, Madrid rested pretty much everybody over international duty. Nobody went away. Mbappe stayed at home. I don't think Vinicius went. Bellingham, I don't think. I mean, he maybe played for England a couple, maybe one game. So, yeah, I feel like they have a rest advantage over Barcelona. But as we said, Barca's underlying process and the way in which they go about things is just so good. And Real Madrid are so top heavy that Barca are going to create chances. I looked at the goal line is 3.25, and I think that could easily be passed.
Let's go over. That's my play, Jake. I have a hard time not playing the over with these two teams. Both of them look defensively deficient at times, but I have no questions about the way that either side attacks. I think there's goals in this game, and history with, I think, lesser sides from an attacking perspective. Still very good, by the way, but not quite what they have right now for both teams. I just think that over's the play in this game.
Yeah. It could be easy to see a 3-2 again, that kind of score line. It's just, I mean, Real Madrid, Ancelotti can't really drop anybody, which is his problem, because they're all playing so well in attack. And it just means you're left with like a 4-2-4 formation. I think goals are the way in. I think the way in which Barcelona are creating the chances, the consistency with which they're doing it, I think I would trust them slightly more to at least get a result. I mean, that's all we need on the handicap, just to get a result, avoid defeat, and just hope that Real Madrid's individual players don't come up with moments of magic, which happened in both Clásicos last year, didn't they? With the Bellingham scoring the winning goal in both. It's always the risk. They're basically Galacticos 2.0, aren't they? But probably better built in the sense that they've not just dropped random players in, actually thought about getting certain players in certain positions. So, it's a big game in the title race as well. We shouldn't really mention. Barcelona have got 3 or 4 points clear at the moment. Obviously, played a game more. A win for Barca would be huge in terms of just. I mean, any advantage is a good advantage, but the way in which both those teams, it's going to be down to those two, and it does make the Clásicos even more important. Yeah, they're 3 points clear, Barca. A win obviously would put them 6 clear and take one of the Clásicos out. So, yeah, fascinating. I can't wait to watch it. I think there's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of drama, a lot of goals, a lot of cards, and hopefully Barca avoid defeat.
Especially when you look at La Liga. In previous years, there might have been that 4th or 5th team that you could count on coming away with results. It's a top-heavy top 3 this year. And Atletico Madrid is probably a step behind the other two, making this game that much more important. I got to back the goals over 3.25 at -102. It shifted out from +102. Get it while you can. Along the same lines, I'm making a little bit of a pro-Barcelona play. I'm going over the team total of 1.5 at +122, because that's the way I think the game's going to play out. There's going to be goals. I cannot see this. Infamous final words. Like, I can't see this being a low-scoring game. But at +122, that shifted out from +125 from last night as well. Get it while you can. El Clasico, this one has all the makings of being something special. Anything else in Spain? Like this weekend in Spain, I think there's some real value to be had because there's a lot of really bad teams playing at home against superior teams that are playing away. And those away sides are going to be juiced a little bit. I'll give you one really quickly. I know we have more big games to cover this weekend. Villarreal away at Real Valladolid at +105. The home side hasn't won at home in their last 4 games. They only beat Espanyol in their opening match of the season, 1-0 for Valladolid. And they're 16th in home expected points. Villarreal are second in away expected points, only behind Barcelona, 3-1 and 1 away. They're a decent enough side. Their only loss away from home came 2-0 to Real Madrid, and they won 3-0 in this fixture last season and 2-0 the fixture before. Again, good away side against a bad home side. And one other one for me, Valencia is just, they're horrible. Valencia to score no +110 at Getafe. Valencia are last place in La Liga. They're 0-1 and 4 away, and their expected goals through 5 games is 2.95. One away goal scored on the season. And by the way, they haven't scored in their last 6 trips to Getafe as well. So history's on their side. And Getafe 1-4-0 at home. They haven't lost. They've only conceded 2 goals at home, and their 1.63 expected goals against at home is the best in La Liga. By comparison, Atletico Madrid, another good defensive home side, 2.57 expected goals against at home. So that's how good that they've been away from home. So Valencia just scored no at plus 110. By the way, there could be cards in this game as well. History would suggest that. There have been 8 sending offs in the last 7 meetings between these two sides. So keep an eye on the cards market as well. That's all for me in La Liga. Anything else catch your eye?
Yeah, I'm just very angry because she stole my Getafe pick there.
Is that it?
I had the exact same play down to score. The Getafe's underlying data at home is absolutely ridiculous in terms of limiting the amount of chances. I have nothing else to add there. I think that's a cracking bet.
Okay, let's move to the Serie A this weekend. It's Inter and Juventus. You can back Inter to win outright at minus 128, plus 257 on the draw, plus 414 if you want to back Juventus away. Juve ended up losing in the Champions League midweek, and they come into this game where I mean, it's a really important game for both sides. It seems like they regularly play to the under, but usually it's like a 1-0, 1-1. So someone's scoring in this game. Juve away from home, a completely different proposition than them playing at home. But Inter have looked shaky at times this season. I mean, I almost have much more faith in this team being able to score a goal than being able to keep a clean sheet, even though they did so in winning fashion last week as well. Do you have a play in this game? I don't have a play for this game. I back Inter, but it's a little bit out of range for my liking.
Yeah, I don't have a play in this one either. I quickly scanned and moved past it. I actually think Inter probably are value. I think Juve have had a somewhat fortunate start to the season in terms of comfortably scored more than they should have. Defensively, they look okay, and I think that's the only way they're going to get a result. Really, is a 0-0 because I don't see them scoring in this match. So I would be quite happy to make an Inter play at minus 128. I think they're just a better team, and I think that's going to show over the course of the season as we progress.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else in Serie A?
Yeah, given that you stole my bet in La Liga, I'm going to steal what is probably going to be your bet. Over 3 in Atalanta versus Verona. It seems pretty obvious. You look at the table, Atalanta games have averaged 3.9 goals. Verona's have averaged 3.4 goals. And if you'd have backed this blindly in all 16 combined games, you would have 7 wins and just 3 losses with 6 pushes. So you'd be very, very much in profit if you backed this goal line in every Atalanta game and every Verona game. So I don't see why we should not expect another repeat here.
That wasn't my play. I was going to stay away this week.
Last week.
We've seen Atalanta in the 2.5, 2 3/4 range. Now they've touched 3, and I'm not sure if we've kind of lost that edge, but we had that edge early in the season. We'll see what happens this weekend in that game. I don't mind I considered it because it's been a traditional play on this podcast, but I'll stay away for this week. I'll back AC Milan away to Bologna, like plus 117. Milan started slow, but they're starting to move in the right direction. They beat Inter away from home. They lost to Fiorentina away from home, but they had almost a 3 expected goals in that game. So they're creating chances. They've looked much better. Bologna is a mess. Like Champions League football, the changes, it's just been a mess for them. Milan hasn't lost at Bologna in 17 games. 17. It's just one of those teams that they have their number. Bologna hasn't won at home this season. Only 3 goals scored and 3 conceded in 4 draws. I think Milan can come away with something at a plus number. I'm happy to back them. My other play, Napoli to win to 0 over Lecce at plus 102. Lecce haven't scored a goal away from home, and Napoli haven't lost. 4 wins from 4. 10 goals scored, 2 goals conceded. I think that this is a team that's efficient. They're solid. They're structurally sound. And playing at home against a much weaker side in Lecce, it's a decent enough bet for me at a plus money value there. and my Serie A plays have been very good to me this season. So let's keep this going. Nothing in Bundesliga for me this weekend. Anything for you?
I was just going to take the overs in Werder versus Bayer Leverkusen. The line's at 3.25. You're getting plus 105. I mean, it's just Bayer Leverkusen just are an over team, and I expected to see 3.5. So in my mind, we're getting an extra quarter goal. It's over 3.5 has landed in 5 of Bayer Leverkusen's 7 and 4 of Werder's 7, and they're both averaging over. Well, Bayer Leverkusen's games are averaging 4.4 goals per game this season in the Bundesliga. Werder 3.7. They are fresh off a 4-2 result last week, so I'd be shocked if this one was not going close.
Yeah, I did write down one play. I just don't have time to explain it. Heidenheim against Hoffenheim. I love it this weekend. Plus 131 on the home side. I can't get into it right now because we got to spend a little bit of time. We're going to touch on Liga for the first time this season very quickly. It's a relevant match in terms of the title race as Marseille hosts PSG. Marseille is three points back. They're in third. PSG level atop the table. Joint leaders with Monaco this weekend. Head-to-head PSG, 3 wins a row and clean sheets in each. In fact, Marseille haven't had a clean sheet against PSG in their 6. They actually haven't scored in their last 5 home times that they played, and they haven't beat PSG at home since 2011. That's crazy it's been that long. 8 wins and 3 draws for the visitors PSG over the course of that span. And by the way, the 2 top goal scorers in Liga as well, Bradley Barcola and Mason Greenwood at 7 and 6 respectively. Do you have a play in this game? I do. I want to back the home side, not just because of the trend. I just think that they're a better team right now than Marseille. Anything there for that game, Jake?
Goals. And a lot of them. The goal line's at 3.25. And again, I expected to see 3.5 because we've seen a hell of a lot of goals from Marseille this season and even more but from PSG. They are the 2 entertainers this season. Marseille, over 3.5 goals have landed in a combined 11 of 16 this season. PSG's games averaging 4.1 goals, Marseille 3.6. So, I mean, both teams really struggle defensively, but are absolutely dynamite going forward. And they've got so many options off the bench as well. So, I think over 3.25 is definitely a bet at a plus money number. And not sure if Pinnacle have the card prices up yet, but they do. Yeah, the line's at 4.5 minus 139. Have a little look later, closer to kickoff, see if the line moves to over 5.5, because I think that could be worth a bet as well. It's always a fiery encounter between these 2 teams.
Yeah, really quickly, PSG 25 goals in the season. You mentioned it. Like, they just score goals for fun. They're 2 wins, 2 draws away from home, but their expected points is the best in Ligue 1. Marseille have been great away from home, but their home games have been weird thus far. They've had 2 sendings off, 2 players sent off in the 3 games that they played. Only 3 home games, but their expected goals are just 4.86, which is actually the 3rd worst overall. Yes, some teams around them have a game in hand, but it's been a little bit choppy to start the season. And there's 5 teams with a better expected goals against, so they're giving up chances at home as well. Again, those cards play into it, but I need to see a little bit more before I'm going to back them against the prohibitive favorites in Liga. And at just around even money at minus 103, I'm happy to back PSG in this game to come away with a win. That's all we got for this week. Continue to share your picks and plays in the chat on our YouTube channel. If you're listening or watching, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. All of this matters. We love doing this podcast every week and hope that you get something out of it as well. Good stuff, Jake. Best of luck this week. Let's keep this going. We're just hitting your groove.
Yeah, we had a good run, didn't we, last year before Christmas, and hopefully we have the same. Might be able to buy 1 or 2 extra Christmas presents.
Good for my family. Good for our young children, and they're at the age where they now ask for gifts. Yes, Toddlers, they're amazing. On behalf of Jake, I am Garrett. This has been episode 8 of Pinnacle FC.